Welcome back. We are days later. We're going to get back on the Thunderchicken here, getting the 460 out. So there she is. We are days later from last time. We're actually about a week later. I had a really busy week at work. So if you recall where we're at, the interior is pretty much all the same. Transmission is all disconnected. And we just started taking apart stuff on the front end of the engine. We got the water pump pulley off, crank pulley, getting the alternator loose. We do have the exhaust off. So we're going to go ahead and get all this stuff up here taken off and keep on moving on. I appreciate everybody that's watching. Thank you. Hope you like what you're seeing. If you have any comments, questions, leave questions in the comments below. We'll keep moving on. If you guys all remember, we got the Chevette project that hopefully this 460 is going to be going in, and we got patches are going on right now. We do have the Grand Prix that's sitting outside right now. That one is kind of running, but our main focus this year is going to be patches and the Chevette. But we will get the Grand Prix going as well. So I am gonna keep moving on this thing and see where we can get. Hopefully we can move fairly well on it and get this beast out of here. Once it's all out and I can get the front wheels off, get all my good parts out of it, then we're gonna go ahead and get back on getting this out of here. And we will move the Chevette back over, probably pull the Grand Prix back in so that I can finish the brake lines on there. I'm not too fascinated with getting all that taken care of, but it is what it is. It needs to be done. So we'll go ahead get this out maybe tonight and just keep moving on it. So got any questions? Let me know. Alright, so we got the engine hoist mounted up here. As you could tell, that actually went pretty quick, taking us all apart. Should have everything loose, hopefully. Probably not. There's probably missing something. Always happens. But we're going to go ahead and yank this out and see what kind of damage we can do. I don't have a whole lot of room up in front. Got all kinds of room in back. But being I already have it on the jack stands, we're going to see if we can make this work the way we got it set up. So hopefully this will go well and smooth and it'll actually come out the way it's supposed to. Never really does that though. Something's always bound to hang up. It's almost a guarantee that that's going to happen. And I had this in here pretty snug. And when I put it in, I didn't have one of the exhaust manifolds on. So hopefully we can do this fairly quickly. I might have to pull the engine mounts off the block. Actually, this one over here pulled like it was supposed to. This one is not. This one I'm going to have to take a wrench and get off. So that might take a little bit of time. So I'm just going to pause it here and get that loose. Alright, now that I got that out, we're going to see if we can wiggle this out. I got one of the engine mounts right here. I reused the factory engine mounts that were on the 4.6 on this. So we had both on one side, one on each side, excuse me. We're going to see if we can wiggle this out without pulling the drive shaft. I'm hoping we can. Otherwise, if I got to pull the drive shaft, that means I got to pull the tank out. And I'd rather not have to do that right now. We're going to have to at one point in time anyway, but we got to try and get the oil pan past the cross member here without pulling the drive shaft. The transmission is loose right now, and that's kind of what's holding it up. So, being that the drive shaft is in place, it's not allowing the transmission to drop. Well, I just pulled it up off the jack stands here, so we're going to end up having to pull the gas tank out to get the drive shaft loose, and then I can finally pull the engine out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Not really a point in recording that underneath the car, so I'll just go ahead and get that done and see about getting the motor done. Alright, so we're back at it. I got the fuel tank dropped enough to get the drive shaft out of the way, disconnect the drive shaft from the rear end, and that allowed me to get to where we are now, which obviously I have moved it up. Moved the placement of the chain on the engine mount here, and we are coming out. Hopefully without any issues. Of course, there's always something. See if I can tip this a little more with the rear end, or with the transmission where it is, so I can get more fluid out, not damage anything. See if anything else is connected here. Yep. Well, at least it didn't fall into the fluid. That was the kick down bracket that just fell. And have to slide this over here. Make sure you're still in frame. I do still have the rear end jacked up. Out of here without damaging anything more than I already have. We'll be in good shape. Right now we're stuck on a jack stand. Past that, let's see. A little further here. Got a little bit of cleanup to do. All right, so it is down. There we go. So imagine that engine in the Chevette. That'd be a big project. Might throw a couple turbos on it, might just leave it stock. I don't know yet. I'd love to throw a couple turbos on it and see what I can make that Chevette do, but right now, as long as I can get that in there and get it back on the road and on the strip. Big thing is the strip. I want to get there next summer. Whether the car's painted and all the bodywork's done or not, I want to try and get that there next summer. So we'll have to see what happens. Obviously the engine is out of the Thunderchicken now. So we got a big gap in here and some fluid to clean up. Well, I got to get the solenoid off here, breaker, relay, get the shifter out, get a little bit of stuff out of the engine bay, and then I am going to throw the 4.6 back in here, take up the space, get it out of the garage, since nobody seems to want that. Once that's in here, I can finish that all up. No point in putting the drive shaft back on, because that one I shortened to make it work with the big block. Then I'm just going to get my gauges and switch panel shifter out of here. Probably going to keep the 373 gears and the mini spool. Get the shifter out and then throw everything back in here, back together. Hook a battery back up so I can roll the window back up and get it out of here. Oh, can't forget front wheels. Got to switch out the hubs again. Switch out the wheel bearings back over to the 4 1/4 bolt pattern instead of the 4 1/2 bolt pattern. And I got to get the rest of my AN lines out from underneath yet. Then she will be going away. So if you're interested, I'm guessing it's not going to sell too quick. So if you're interested, shoot me a line and we'll see if I still have it. Possibly by the time that this actually gets live, it might be gone. I'm going to do a little bit of cleaning here and we'll go from there. Welcome back. So next day, went ahead and you were with me, got the 460 out. Well, got the shifter out. Actually, I got almost everything out that I needed out, except the front wheels. Still have those sitting on there. So after the camera died last night, I went ahead and pulled pretty much everything out and then put all the parts back in here that were from the car that I was keeping. So most of the parts are back in here. Everything else is out. All the AN lines that I had, they're out. 460's out, shifter's out, gauges are all out. Radiator, fan, everything is pretty much out. So you see the gauges up there on top of the Chevette. So I got to go ahead and swap out the wheel bearings and the rotors, put the old wheels back on here, get this mess cleaned up in here, floor dry, you gotta love it. And then we're gonna put the 4.6 and just set it in here. I'm not gonna do anything else with it, just gonna set it in here for right now and then clean up, get this beast out of here. Hopefully send it off to a new home sooner than later. If anybody wants it anyway. So that's where we're at right now. I'm gonna go ahead and start cleaning up. And once I get everything cleaned up as far as the floor dry goes, then we'll just go ahead and get back on it and get the front wheels, wheel bearings, wheels switched out. Get the 4.6 just set in there. Have the transmission cross member in there and probably just sit on the oil pan. There's the engine mounts, but I don't have the, I might have the plates for it so it could actually sit in it, but I would have to look a little harder. So yeah, we're gonna get to it. Go from there. All right, we're gonna get ready to stab this thing back in here. It ends up the engine mounts that are on the motor are still there, so I lucked out there. So we should be able to at least set it on there, hopefully. And as long as I can get in the right position here to actually get the engine hoist in, we should be good, hopefully. Alright, so here's where we're at. The engine is in. The 4.6, the original engine, is back in. That's sitting in place where it needs to be. The transmission crossmember's in. I need to find the transmission mount yet. I don't like how the transmission's sitting there, even though it's just sitting in there. The engine is sitting on the engine mounts. I have gone ahead and switched out the wheel bearings already. Really simple. So if you don't know, take off your caliper bracket, pull your caliper, unbolt your wheel bearing. This is a whole assembly. This uses a 35 millimeter socket. Unbolt it, bolt the new one on, torque it in place, and put it all back together. Real simple. I like to torque these in place when it's on the ground. Usually you have a center cap on your wheel, pop that out and get the socket through it if you can. Otherwise use a pry bar in between the lug nuts. That'll usually help. Well, scratch that. That would be on one that has CV joints. This one is just a straight spindle, so all you got to do is just torque it and you're fine. So yeah, this is all in. Most of the parts are back in place here. You got to get the wheels back on here. Then we have to get the hood on, get a battery in so I can roll up the windows and get this thing out of here. I want to try and find that transmission mount yet, but it might take a little bit of time for me looking for it. So I'm just going to go ahead and start looking for that now. I do have the other wheels for this sitting outside. In the meantime, once I did take these wheels off of here, I threw them over on patches here. They don't look too bad on there. They're sitting on there right now, but they look pretty good. We'll have to see how that pans out. Also, having that wheel on there gives me a good place for the front fenders to make sure they're in the right position that I want them in. So with that on there, real skinny's on there, but you never know, they might just stay on there. Hard to say right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and look for that transmission mount, see if I can find it. As you see, my mess over here has gotten a little bit better because most of the parts that were over here that aren't 460 parts went back on the Thunderbird. So we'll go ahead and get that all cleaned up a little bit and find the transmission mount. I'm not going to worry about cleaning that mess up yet. Find the transmission mount and then we'll put this here back together and get it out the door. Not much left. And then we'll have to clean up our mess and move the Chevette back over so that's out of the way for right now. I might try and sneak that 460 in the Chevette just to have a place for it to sit, because that's not going to be our main focus. Our main focus is going to be patches. So we'll see what we can do. All right, we are done. Front wheels are on, hood's on. It's all cleaned off. Everything is good to go. I could not try and find the transmission mount, so if I find it before it sells, I might drag it back in and put it in. But until then, everything's good to go. This thing is going to get out of our lives and get into somebody else's, which is fine. I believe I still have the heater box outside, so I'll go ahead and throw that in the trunk. But she is now going to get out of the garage and sit outside for a while. But as far as I'm concerned, it's good as gone. So try and sell it for parts, for somebody that wants to fix it up, whatever. Maybe I'll talk to my wife and see if my oldest boy wants to buy or wants to drive it, but I'll have to see. So this is gone, and now we're going to get back to cleaning this all up, get the vet back over, and we'll get back on patches. get that little 4-banger put in there and see what we can do. So that'll be it for this one. If you guys like it, great. Hit that like button, subscribe, and keep on moving on. Until next time.